Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Senator Klobuchar and Cantwell. Well, I hear something happened while we were at lunch, which led me to make some news here today and say something I didn't think was imaginable. I agree with Elon Musk. Within the hour, he put on X the following. I have it right here so you can all see it. He said, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You did wrong," he said to them. "You know it. It will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt." It's right here. He's right. Republicans should listen to him, and actually to their former selves, outraged about the national debt. Because it's here, Donald Trump's big, ugly bill is in the Senate. Behind the smoke and mirrors lies a cruel and draconian truth. Tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid by gutting health care for millions of Americans. Over the past few days, President Trump has tried to sell his bill, saying people won't lose coverage, children won't go hungry, costs won't go up. Let's call that for what it is, lies. All of them lies. 14 million Americans will lose health care as they decimate Medicaid and now try to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. So this is an anti-health care bill, not just an anti-Medicaid bill, but an anti-health care bill. 20 million Americans will see their health care costs go up, many of them dramatically, so they might not even be able to afford health care. 11 million Americans, 4 million kids, could lose access to federal food assistance. Hungry kids? Telling them to go hungry so billionaires can get an additional tax break? God bless the billionaires. They got plenty of money. They don't need a tax break. Our kids need to be fed. And all 40 million Americans who are receiving food assistance will get less every month when benefits are already just a couple of bucks a day. Energy costs will go up. What they did to clean energy, they decimated it. They couldn't say they were killing it outright, so they strangled it to death. And what will happen? Energy costs will go up for American families, both electricity and gasoline. 800,000 jobs in domestic energy and manufacturing will be cut. 800,000 jobs. And even more in hospitals and nursing homes and community health centers. That's really risking our economy, such large amounts of people losing jobs all at once. All to pay for tax cuts for the richest. And for big oil. Big oil hates clean energy. Fossil fuel industry hates clean energy because they know it's the future. And they know it's cheaper, at least in terms of solar panels. Cheaper and quicker. So they want to kill it. But everyone knows America needs clean energy in order to meet demands moving forward. Nothing's cheap and quick to build as clean energy. We need 10 times as much electricity to continuing powering breakthroughs in AI and stay ahead of China. With their bill, the Republicans want to raise taxes on the domestic energy sources that are set to deliver more than 80% of the power, of the new power, in the next year. So let me be clear, if this bill passes, your electricity costs are going up. Look at the facts. The Republican plan will increase average national electricity prices by about 10% and total energy costs by $32 billion, all to please the ideological blindness of big oil billionaires. It would jeopardize $840 billion in private investment across America, with more than 85% of that massive cut in Republican states and districts. It's not theoretical, it's already happening. More than $12 billion in private investment, 13,000 jobs in clean energy and manufacturing have already been canceled since January, but that's just the beginning if this bill passes. So this is DEFCON 1 for thousands and thousands of American workers whose jobs depend on federal support for domestic energy incentives. In fact, about 200 solar manufacturing factories, representing more than 40,000 jobs and $35 billion investment, are dead if the Republican plan becomes law, and another 100 would be at risk. Getting clean energy manufacturing is not American energy dominance. It's surrender to China. What a terrible price to pay, just to lower taxes for the ultra-rich, just to line the pockets and the ideological hunger of the fossil fuel industry, and to lose out on American energy dominance. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Schumer. And to be very clear, this is not a big, beautiful bill. It's a big, beautiful betrayal of the middle class and working people in this country. It's a betrayal of seniors in nursing homes, where half of those in assisted living rely on Medicaid. It's a betrayal of families struggling to put food on the table, and it's a betrayal of the middle class. Americans know, and I'm going to focus here on something that I just don't think has gotten enough attention, in addition to the health care cuts that Senator Schumer so well articulated it. This is the cuts on food assistance. In addition to a nearly $3,000 Trump tariff tax on every single family in America, and food prices going up by more than $200 because of the tariff tax, this betrayal, when it comes to food assistance, is going to be very expensive and very out of reach for a lot of people. 40% of SNAP participants are kids, almost 20% are seniors, and 10% are adults with disabilities. This is a $300 billion, not million, $300 billion cut. So you've heard about the effect it has on hungry people, but there's something, the sleight of hand, that everyone needs to know. And that is that over half of these cuts come from a fake shift over to the states. A shift to the states that the states can't pay for because 40 of them have balanced budget amendments. How much money are we talking about? $100 million would have to go to Kansas to pay for it, just like that. $170 million to the state of Kentucky. $580 million extra to be paid for the state of North Carolina. That is why so many governors are speaking out. Governor Laura Kelly, who heads up the State Democratic Governors Association out of Kansas, a very moderate governor, she says, we don't have the money. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein says, our state will be forced into perilous budget decisions. Should North Carolinians lose access to food, or should we get rid of other essential services? Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, it's going to leave more of our kids and seniors going hungry. Farmers will be losing revenue at $35 billion over 10 years. Look what they're already facing. Markets shrinking because of the Trump tariff. Input costs up. Weather issues. Cuts to the USDA. Veterinarians leaving. And now this. It will also cost jobs and wages for grocers. I visited a number of grocery stores in my state, independent groceries, because all we need is to not have more consolidation. We want to have these independent grocers, and they're the ones that would be literally the roadkill if this goes through, because especially in rural areas, so many of their customers use SNAP. So this bill is one betrayal of families who are facing these costs, of people who need health care. Either they're on the Affordable Care Act and the rates are going to go way up, or they're in a nursing home, and I mentioned, and they're on Medicaid. Instead of rubber stamping the Trump agenda, instead of just raising their hands up in the air and saying, people will die, it only takes 4 Republicans in the House or 4 in the Senate to stand up and say no to this and work with us on a better budget.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Senator Cantwell.
Thank you. It's great to be here with Leader Schumer and my colleague from Minnesota, Senator Klobuchar. We're here today to talk about the reconciliation bill that makes Medicaid cuts. That is literally just another attempt to repeal the advancements of the Affordable Care Act. American families said no before to repealing the Affordable Care Act, and families are saying no now to repealing parts of the Affordable Care Act. Here are some of the facts from the Urban Institute. By covering more people, the Affordable Care Act improved access to care, covered millions more of Americans, and helped us lower costs. But the provisions in the House reconciliation bill will reverse those gains. And for what? To give a tax break to the ultra-wealthy or to corporations that don't need it? CBO estimates that because of these changes in the House reconciliation bill, there will be 15.9 million more Americans who don't have insurance over the next 10 years. That is more than a 50% increase in the number of people who are currently uninsured. That would reverse the coverage gains by the Affordable Care Act. This would raise costs on all of us. The decision of the Affordable Care Act to be expanded was a good idea. Missouri providers thought so. Emergency room visits in that state dropped by 15% on the uninsured. States that expanded Medicaid overall saw a 55% drop in hospital uncompensated care costs. In Missouri, after the Medicaid expansion, they saw their uninsured rate decline from about 50% to 35%. So now what is going to happen when you cut Medicaid and more of those people are now going to return to the ranks of the uninsured? Missouri chose to participate in the expansion, and over 300,000 people gained that insurance, but now they are at risk of losing it again. If this bill is enacted, reversing the gains of the Affordable Care Act, it will increase our uncompensated care cost. One estimate, $42 billion alone in 2026 of uncompensated care, and $278 billion in uncompensated care increases over a 10-year window. At the same time, the provisions put into the House reconciliation bill leaves providers and states with any tools that they could do to address this. This bill could cause a $1 trillion decrease in healthcare services, leaving states to try to grapple with that hit. And rural areas will be the most hard hit. The result in declining revenue would have adverse consequences for at-risk hospitals and rural communities. We have all heard from our rural hospitals warning us about this. How is it that our Republican Senate colleagues are not listening to those rural hospitals? The Center for Healthcare Quality and Payment Reform has reported that 1/3 of all rural hospitals in the country are already at risk, closing because of the pressures they face from financial losses on patient care, limited revenues, and other low financial reserves. So this bill puts already at risk rural hospitals in even a more potential state of possible closure. Do our Republican colleagues not care about delivery of health care in our rural community and the spillover effect it has to their economies? This is not scare tactics. This is a bill, if enacted, will not result in savings. It will result in an increase in the uninsured. It will result in financial stresses on our system, and it will increase cost on all of us. And yes, it will cost lives.
Thank you, Maria. Ready for your questions?
Senator Schumer,
Yes.
you say you're going to do everything in your power to stop this bill. What does that entail?
Look, we're doing everything we can, as I said. That involves obviously going to the floor. It involves letting the spotlight hearings. We're having one tomorrow on SNAP, where we're letting the American public know. It most of all entails being back in our states and going into other states and showing the public how bad this bill is. Abe Lincoln said it best. Public sentiment is everything. And the more the public learns about this bill, the more they hate it, and the more they tell their Republican senators, not to vote for it.
Leader Schumer.
No, back there. Okay, we'll go to you.
Thank you. Some Republicans are already talking about removing the debt ceiling and dealing with it outside of the reconciliation package. If that happens, will Democrats provide the votes?
Let's wait and see what they do. Yes.
How does Musk's opposition change your approach to fight against this?
Well, Musk's opposition shows how bad, if even Elon Musk, who's been part of the whole process and is Trump's buddy, says the bill is bad, you can imagine how bad this bill is.
Well, I think that Musk is disagreeing with the spending cuts, right? I don't know if you guys
Look, I just read you what Musk said. He said people should be ashamed to vote for this bill. I agree with him.
Our members have commented about the debt and the fact that they are actually adding more tax cuts for the wealthiest, which makes it worse on the debt. So in that way, when Musk is talking about the debt, we think this bill is a problem because of the debt as well.
It's a problem because of the debt and many other things. And Musk said people shouldn't vote for the bill. Let's hope the Republicans follow him, not Trump. Thank you, everybody.